What? Did we just become best friends? Yeah!
One is a t-shirt queen, and the other is an SEO and web developing ninja. And both of these squirrels are a little nuts. You're now listening to the More Gooder Ideas podcast, a show for the small business hustlers worldwide, encouraging you to be your most authentic self. This is the place where your whole story matters. Come for the tips and stay for the fun. Now, your hosts, Angie Patterson and Jay Smith.
What I'm really driving at is you can take something that will not be a net cost to the company. The sawdust analogy is that stuff is already being produced. It just takes a creative mindset and an eye to see how it can be used or leveraged to improve the company or your bottom line or reduce costs.
Yeah, and even if they're like, nah, dog.
That happens a lot.
You're still trying.
Yeah, innovating.
And they will appreciate that.
Yeah, and sometimes you're not talking to the right leader. Some people are very ABC. This is the way we do this. Don't worry about that. That's a waste of your time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or sometimes it opens up a conversation for them to say, well, actually, this won't at work, but this is why.
Right.
Oh, now you have a little nugget that you can put away.
Sure.
And that you wouldn't have ever gotten any other way.
Yeah.
And then you can use that in your next, scheme. I say scheme, that's not a great word, but your next idea to innovate.
And you can't get discouraged because everybody comes in with great ideas, or they come from another company in a similar industry, and this is how we did things here. You hear that a lot. Nobody wants to hear how we did things over there. We're not there. But you can't get discouraged by wanting to innovate just because your ideas are not taken seriously, or in the worst case, they're taken, used, and you're given no credit for it. Which going. We have that sound effect. You don't have to do
I thought mine was better, but
okay. But when it comes time for annual review and talking about what you've accomplished this year, or it comes time for promotion and you're up against colleagues and peers, whether or not they took that idea or that idea had merit or there was some reason why you couldn't do it, or we tried it out and it didn't really have the impact we thought it would. I've done plenty of those too, but you don't know until you try. Just those activities, though, elevate you beyond the people who are just punching the clock. Mm-hmm. And there's plenty of people, and that's fine. You can't look down on people for seeing their job in that light. But the question that was put to us by Cassidy, our super fan, our number one fan, and who takes every cue in her life from this podcast. I want to make sure I had you on camera while you did that.
We love you.
We love you. The whole point was, how do you brand yourself and stand up above the crowd? How are you going to maximize your career? And these are ideas that, while some people may be like, I'm there for my paycheck, I'm just going to do. Well, yes, that's fine. But when you're passed over for promotion, or, God forbid, they start doing a downsizing or something like that, and you are not bringing as much value,
mm-hmm.
that's going to be, their take. It's like, well, you're just a cog. You weren't someone here trying to innovate.
Yes. Let's keep it real. You're a number on a spreadsheet, and one of the only ways that you're going to stand out from all the other numbers is by doing exactly what we tell you to do.
What's really cool? I've actually been a number on a literal physical spreadsheet before Excel. Isn't that cool?
Oh my gosh. I mean, we used to joke all the time, because every place you have an employee number, or especially in retail, you literally do have a number, and that's how you log into the computer, mm-hmm. or how you clock in, or whatever. And you're like, yeah, I'm 69870. Who are you?
XR320.
And at Vans, they were in the order of how you got hired.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of how you knew how long somebody worked there, was by their number. Wow. How many digits were in their number and stuff, which was very more mind-rattling than you would think.
We had something similar at one company I was at, where they instituted our ID badges. And they tried to go with kind of a military tick mark kind of thing. Your department was the color on the bottom, and then how many little bars were up here were your years of service, and star means this or that.
Like a Cracker Barrel, the stars.
Flare, shit. Yeah, okay.
Form best practices and then record your best practices and freely share them with others.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't try to silo your knowledge. That's the worst. Like everybody above you in the organization knows when you're doing it. Nobody likes it. And you are absolutely not safe or more valuable because you know things that no one else knows. I can promise you.
Yes.
Like,
and
that's the worst.
If you're in a leadership role or if you're striving to be in a leadership role, no matter, correct me if I'm wrong, no matter what industry you're in, part of it is going to be training.
Sure.
You're going to train somebody. These are my 5 best practices for this particular thing or for my day-to-day business. And you share that with people with any opportunity you have. It just shows that you can train people and you understand what people need to learn. I think that will really set people apart also because I think unless you are like in a teaching field, I think a lot of people just feel like they don't know how to teach.
Sure.
When really teaching is just sharing your knowledge with somebody else.
That's funny. That was specifically stated at Costco, like from the very top all the way down. For managers, your entire job is teaching.
Yeah.
If you think that your job isn't primarily teaching, you don't understand your job.
Yeah. I mean, one of the vans was a huge curriculum, and it was always evolving and changing, and benchmarks of my performance as a store manager was where everybody else was at with their training and education and stuff. When I very first got hired, I got to go to a store in Colorado and train. They really sucked me in. I was like, I'll do whatever you want me to do. And the girl who trained me was great. She said, this is going to feel like stuff you already know because I have a retail background. And she said, and most of it you probably do. But you will have to teach every employee you encounter. You're going to have to teach them this. So she was like, I don't care if we sit back here all day in front of this computer. Please pay attention and ask me questions and really absorb it. And I did.
I think you've brought out a good point. Another big way to differentiate yourself is to become a trainer. Because if you want to eventually move into management in that company, training others is going to be a key part of your job, as we just talked. But, in trucking, whether somebody was hired in as a dock worker or a truck driver, they went through extensive training with a peer, with the people doing the work. So yes, we sat them down and we taught them company policies and we, all that stuff. But when it comes to literally how we load trucks, this is how we enter stuff in our computer. This is how we interact with our clients and our customers. That's peer training. That's on the job training with people who have shown that they take the way the company does things seriously and they want it done correctly because they see the value in having new employees who do things the correct way. So, the people who don't kind of get that, they're like, you're just a suck up or you just want an extra $1 an hour or whatever. But most often when I had people who were certified trainers at some companies or just designated trainers in others, you either had a program or you just had, hey, I need you to train this person kind of thing. They were really proud and serious about the training because they wanted people doing things the right way. And even a year or two down the road, if that person who they trained slipped up, they were the ones to call them on it and say, hey, that's not how we do things. And you really differentiate yourself and take yourself kind of above the crowd by seeking out those opportunities to become a trainer. And if you can marry two of these things together, like finding that sawdust and creating a new process with some of this stuff that won't cost the company any money, and you create the whole process and the whole SOP, and then you're the one who trains other people on it, solid gold.
At another previous job, I actually worked at a long-term healthcare facility. My job had nothing to do with healthcare. It was literally how to teach all the other departments what they needed to do to complete their jobs the way they have to, legally have to, a lot of times in the healthcare, and also make sure that resident is really happy so that they don't call their kid and the kid comes in here and says they're going to call the state on you or whatever. Right. And I loved that because I like customer service. But whatever your thing is, it feels good to know that you're the person that they call on for that you're the expert in this.
Sure.
That definitely brought me so many opportunities, specifically when I worked at Vans. I got to do things that I never imagined in my whole life that I would get to do. And my store performed well, but it wasn't the highest performing store in the company. And it was my personality, and it was the fact that they knew that I lived the tenets of Vans, which most of them are customer service, serving your customer.
Well, I mean, it's a pretty limited set that it could be, right? I mean,
quality,
aerodynamics, no.
authenticity. Steve Van Doren, who is the son of the founder of Vans, and he has some family in the Kentucky area. And so he made a little surprise visit to our store one day. And
But that was nerve-wracking.
oh my gosh. And well, and just like any other company, you know, you're immersed in it. So it was like, that's the man. Like, I still think he is the man, even after not working there. But like, that is the man. And he comes in, and I've got my best team, and so everything's great. I wasn't really nervous, but I straight up told him, I said, hey, look, if you ever need me to do anything, I'll go wherever you want me to go. I love working for this company. I look at how high my I can't remember what they were called, but we did have like customer
Metrics,
surveys.
yeah.
Yeah. My customers are happy. Look at how much we've grown. I'll do whatever you want. And not a week later, he called me and said, we're doing a Warped Tour reunion in Cleveland. I'm going to pay for you and your husband to go up there. I want you to work this booth.
Fun.
And I made a baby there. I mean, it changed my whole life, you know?
Okay.
Don't cut that out. Leave that in.
Oh, I mean, why would I cut it out?
It changed my whole life, though.
Sure.
And it was just again, I don't know where we started this conversation, so I don't know if I'm carrying
I don't remember.
You're
just letting you go.
God, I'm sorry, Cassidy. Please don't be disappointed.
She wouldn't be this. She's our number one fan.
You know, I used my personality and the things that I was already really strong in going into that job. I learned as much as I could, but I used those things to kind of propel myself to the top.
Cool.
And I got to the top.
So I've got kind of a funny one to kind of, as we kind of go on the downslope here, because we're talking forever. But I have
We don't know what we're talking about anymore.
No, we're just like, we're at an hour. You know, we can only do this for so long. But I've got kind of a funny one. And this is just something, this was me. So this has happened over the course of, you know, moving 6-7 companies over 25 years. When you're interviewing, people hear things and they tend to write them off as, oh, it's a platitude everybody says. And then when you do those things, so I'll back up and give you the example. So I'm a big proponent of, I'm going to just do things. I'm going to know where the limit is, and I'm going to know what the rules are, and I'm going to know what the must-haves are. But under that, I'm going to do everything I can to succeed. And it may not be what you're used to doing. So basically, I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission. And I'll say things like that, and people love hearing it. Hiring managers, HR, oh yeah.
This is our go-to
dynamic
guy.
And then you get in there and you do shit like that, and they're like, whoa, wait, I didn't, you know, I guess you thought I was just saying whatever to get the job. But yeah, when I told you that, I was dead serious. Like, I will just do shit as long as it's legal and within policy, because I don't believe in this is how we've always done it. I can't stand that whole mindset. Now, of course, that is a thing because there's value to it. You know, it's a lot more efficient to do things the way they've always been done. That's how the systems are set up. That's how all of the tooling is set up. That's how the people are trained. But that also eschews innovation. And that's why, you know, you do this. Whereas a brand new startup-y company is doing this because it's all innovation. You're not relying on anything known. It's also a lot riskier. So there's a balance. But I found it funny because I didn't recognize that was a thing until like the last 2 or 3 jobs. And I would talk about that in the interview process with, you know, who was ever going to be my manager or my boss or, you know, if I had to talk to the executive team or whatever. And even towards the end there, I was like, okay, now I always say this and people always resonate with it and think it's great, but they don't really believe me.
And I want you to
I
understand.
am not playing with you. This is what's going to happen. Just so you're aware, if you hire me,
I'm starting shit.
I am starting shit. I'm going to rip off some Band-Aids. I'm going to start some shit. And, there are sacred cows, especially in much larger organizations. There are people who've been in their position a very long time, and they don't believe in changing anything or whatever. Or there are processes, or there are filing cabinets and filing cabinets and filing cabinets full of shit that has been kept in there for 10 years because nobody's like, why is that a policy? Is that a policy? I know that we've always done it like that, but when's the last time someone questioned, what is the purpose of this? Why are we doing this? Is it a must-have? And oftentimes people are looking around at each other like, they don't even remember why they had to do that thing, but they are still doing it, and it's taking up a lot of their time. And sometimes it takes emperor has no clothes type situation for somebody to come in with fresh eyes and be like, why are we doing this? And I have found tremendous value in my career also being that person to be like, yeah, I asked you why we're doing this and you gave me sort of an answer, but I want to keep asking you that until I get to here's why we have to do that.
It never hurts to ask, why are we doing this process? Like you just said. Maybe they give you a valid reason, maybe they don't. But now you know, right? Just always ask the questions. And I think that sometimes there's a stigma, especially when you're new, because you don't want to seem like you don't know stuff. Right. And then the longer you're there, you really don't want to seem like you don't know something or understand something. But always ask the questions. And if you feel like you're in a spot where maybe you can't ask like your direct supervisor or your coworker, again, that's where the building relationship comes from. Ask somebody else. It's going to build your knowledge. It's going to make you stand out from your peers because you're not going to just do something wrong or just not do something. You're going to ask, you're going to figure out what the next step is. Sure. And I think that's something that I know drove my mentor crazy.
Oh, you ask a lot of questions?
I would ask a lot of questions. And sometimes he'd be like, I already told you the answer to this. Like, you've asked this question 5 different ways. I don't understand what you're doing. And I'm like, I just want everything I can get out of you. Yes, I'm an asshole. And then I'm like texting him pictures. Is this what you meant? Does this look how you think? Or this is what I was imagining. What do you think? And I would make him insane, But by the end of that year, we were $1 million store. We had the ability to hire another full-time manager. Wow. I was in the top 25 of the company at the yearly meeting. I got a guitar, bitch. I was at the top of it, And it was because I wasn't afraid to ask. I didn't care if you thought that I wasn't listening or right. And I did that with everybody. I did that with the store managers in my region. Hey, do you, to give you an example, there's a stock room at a shoe store that is as big, if not bigger than the actual store that the customer will never see, right. That you have to manage. It's way more intimidating than managing an actual retail store. It's a stock room. And I had a really great peer who worked at a store in Tennessee, and their stock room was just the bomb, And I would ask him, can you send me a detailed list, type it out,
sure, of
what you guys do every single day?
Yeah.
I want it. And then we would do it for a couple weeks. And then I'd be like, okay, well, we struggled with this and this. Hey, can you break this down for me more? He was the one who kind of taught me about recording your best practices.
Sure.
Because he didn't have to write it down. He already had it written down. He'd copy and paste it and email it to me. And that's really, combined with my great personality and customer service, I was able to build that business the way I wanted to and build it fast. Because I was always asking, figuring out what was going on. And like I said, then maybe you find things that you're like, well, that doesn't work and that doesn't make any sense. And you can innovate. You can add on to the things that you're learning and say, let me take it a step further. And at the end of the day, my performance outweighed however much of an annoyance I was to the people I was asking the questions to.
Yeah, numbers don't lie. I mean, that's gonna drive everything.
And I mean, I don't know what kind of business Cassidy is in, so I don't know how much of it is like, financial performance, but
It's not retail.
okay. It really does translate, I feel like, across many different
Oh, sure.
things because you want to be the expert.
I'm pretty sure she doesn't have any trouble asking.
Yeah.
I mean, she used to work for Susan, so I've got a pretty good beat on what kind of person she is. She's going to be all right.
She's going to be on my side.
She's going to be
like Susan's on my side.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I'm a rock. I'm an island. I'm on my own over here. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I feel this is, I always talk about how I catfished you into being my friend. And these are the times when I feel like that because I feel like I don't know that I answered any specific question for Cassidy. I hope that I had some valuable information to bring to it.
So that brings another good point. My last point. Don't diminish your skills, especially not in the workplace. Don't apologize or pre-apologize for presuming something may or may not work. That does not matter. There are plenty of those people in the workplace, and they are not they're not seen as innovators and leadership material by managers who are looking to build their bench, is a common term. They're looking for people who confidently and boldly move the company forward with not only with innovation, but with also towing the line and showing others how to do things the correct way, the way that's gotten the company where it is. So I would caution anybody who tries to, maybe tiptoe their way into confidence. Don't
fake it till you make it.
Well, that's the other side. That's the other end of the spectrum. I'm not quite all the way there with that either. I think you need to know where you stand and where you are, and hopefully the interviewing and the vetting process was appropriate and you were placed in the role that you're qualified for. Having said that, though, if you got that job, somebody believes you're qualified for it. So don't diminish your own abilities and question whether you're right for this. It's not seen in a good light. It's just not. And I think people do it looking for validation, looking for, someone to say, hey, no, you really are great. And even though they may do that, all they're trying to do is end that conversation or get away from you.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually.
It's pity votes, and they don't see you when it comes down to you or someone else who's confident in what they're doing and their abilities. They're going to pick that person.
Well, if you're doubting yourself, they're going to doubt you.
Sure.
And it's okay to doubt yourself, but nobody else needs to know.
No. So
That was a great point, Jay. Yeah. Now I feel like I'm on a roll. Let's do just like one more hour. Let's see what we get out of it. The title of this episode is going to be
Cassidy's Song.
Our Love Letter to Cassidy.
A love letter to Cassidy. That's kind of weird.
I feel a lot of anxiety about what her feedback's going to be on this episode now. I can't wait. She should do a reaction video of her watching.
Well, my first idea when she brought this up a couple weeks ago was to actually bring her in here and do kind of like a hot seat kind of session.
Yeah.
And maybe we do that. Maybe we, in a couple weeks, if she's been able to take any of this stuff and use it, and I have a feeling she probably could. Plus, she's in a brand new role. So she's killing it, and she's at an amazing organization that's actually going to culturally change Louisville. I'm very excited for where she landed and what she's going to be able to do in the future.
Get over here, Cassidy.
Right.
Get over here right now.
Yeah. Plus, you'd love her. She's amazing. She's like Susan's acolyte.
I love Susan, so
there you go. I'll just leave the three of you here, and I'll just go cut the grass or something.
This is our podcast now.
Yeah. I'll just hook everything up and start the cameras, and I'll just go make tea or play on my phone or something. So you want to take us out?
Thank you for tuning in. I hope that something we talked about today helps you figure out how you can take your personal brand, bring it into your workspace, slay, get that promotion, get that positive review, and we love you guys, and we hope to see you next week.
I mean, I've got nothing to add to that other than We'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out this episode of the More Gooder Podcast. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at More Gooder Ideas and search us up on Facebook, the More Gooder Ideas Podcast. And don't forget to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode.